Good day, beautiful people of the earth. The first thing that I wish to do is to thank all of the people who have donated. I have a new microphone and a new software program from those donations, so that will help me make some better videos, in which hopefully I'm going to test a few techniques that I've been practicing on today. Today, we are going to speak about TDA accounts, what it is, and what is actually going on. Just to be clear, yes, they do make an account from your birth certificate that is called your social security number. Here is an image of what a child's birth record would actually look like, and it would say children's record. People would find this in their Bible. They would also have a marriage record, and you would list when the children were born, the place they were born, their baptism. This is basically how people used to keep records back before the government was bankrupt, and I made a video about that on YouTube called Government for Sale, and you can go back and see what it has to say and the evidence that the government went bankrupt. You can see on this paper that it kind of has these very intricate designs. It looks sort of like bonding paper, and if you find a Bible that has this type of birth record and marriage record in it, the paper that the birth and marriage record are on is very different from the paper in the rest of the Bible, because it is actually on bonding paper. Now, here's an image, high resolution, that I found online of an actual birth certificate, and you can see that these borders have the same kind of markings. What a lot of people say is that this number down here, you see those are matching, and people say that that's creating an account. I'm not arguing that's creating an account. What I am arguing is that that account is not made for you. Right here on this birth certificate, it says State of Louisiana Certification of Vital Records. This is the state of Louisiana's property. It is not your property. You did not create it. You did not bond it. It is created and bonded by the state for the state's own purpose and agenda. Now, after somebody has a birth certificate, their parents typically sign them up for a social security number. And here is a social security card, or an example of a social security card. And as you can see, it says USA Department of Health and Human Services. They are the creator of this card, and the United States Congress, which the United States as Congress assembled, if you read the Constitution closely, the United States, they produce this. This is their property. It is not your property, even if there is an account. And I'm not arguing that there is an account. If there is an account, it's not your account. And I'm going to kind of go through an animation and describe why it is not your account, even though your name is in all capitals, and the counterculture talks about how the all caps name isn't me, the all caps name isn't me, and then it's funny because people want to claim the all cap name as being them so that they can get this Treasury direct account. It's not yours. You didn't set it up. You didn't go into a bank and set up a Treasury direct account. The counterculture says that this Treasury direct account was set up by these guys right here. the Federal Reserve banking system. I don't know how many people read the close fine print to when they're signing to open up an account at a bank, but if you read really closely, when you hand the bank money, it is literally the bank's money. It is not yours. They're safeguarding it for you, but they do not have to return it. This is why they can hand it over to the IRS. If you need more prima facie evidence of this, just look at the Great Depression, where people put money into the banks and they showed up one day on Black Monday. The banks were closed and nobody got the money from the banks that they had put in there, because when you give the bank your property, the bank literally owns your property. They can do with it as they wish. Everybody hopefully knows what fractional reserve banking is, but if you don't,
banks are allowed to create money through a system called fractional reserve banking. Whenever you deposit money, the bank is legally required to keep a certain percentage of it somewhere safe, but can lend everything else. Here's an example based on a 10% reserve requirement. John goes to his bank and deposits $1,000. John's bank keeps $100 and lends the remaining $900 to Mike. There is now $1,900 in the financial system. John's $1,000 deposit and Mike's $900 loan. Next, Mike uses the $900 to buy a laptop from Karen. Then Karen deposits her $900 at another bank. The bank keeps 10% and lends the remaining $810 to George. There is now $2,710 in the system. John's $1,000 deposit, Karen's $900 deposit, and George's $810 loan. This goes on and on until John's initial $1,000 is turned into approximately $10,000. Believe it or not, commercial banks actually create more money than central banks.
So now that we've had that kind of quick history lesson on fractional reserve banking, I'd just like to get into the idea of what's actually going on with these certificates and social security cards. So this is a picture inside of a mansion. We'll just say that this is my home. I'm the king of my home. I like to have guests and keep people happy. Well, while people are in my home, they can't use money. I open up an account for them and give them some medium of exchange. In this case, we'll just say Federal Reserve notes. I own all of the Federal Reserve notes, but they can do favors or processes for me to earn some of those Federal Reserve notes. And they have an account set up in my home. Now, I go to an actual bank and I decide that they're going to earn so many Federal Reserve notes from me, and that their labor and equity is worth so much, and I take an actual loan out from the bank on their work and labor. They do not own that account. It is not theirs. I can put their name on it. I could say that they are collateral. But it is not their account. It is my account. And in the house that I'm the king of, because it is a common law maxim that a man's home is his castle, so I have this account. And I have it for the guests, and the guests are enjoying the luxuries and services of my mansion, and my home, and my property. And then these guests figure out that I have an account, and that I am making money and producing goods and services off of the guest. They are not so happy about this. Before, everybody worked as a team. And they were happy, they enjoyed it. Now, people are angry, they're upset. And they decide that they are going to take back their work and their equity. But they do not own it. There's no legal or lawful right for them to take it back into their possession and authority, because everything is made in my name. It's my property. It's my account. I produced the account. I registered the account. It is the same thing with the system of birth certificates and social security numbers. Now, typically, historically, with the Anglo-Saxon culture, they would cut people's heads off. Oh no, I lost my head. I probably shouldn't have made people so angry. It's not nice to steal people's sweat and equity labor. Nowadays, they trick people. And they do it by creating a birth certificate and then telling people to go get a social security card so that they can sign up to be the sweat and equity labor for the people who issue these properties, the people who register these properties, the people who own these properties. And this is how good the other side is at controlling people. I'm not saying that all of these people are trying to hurt the general public. But if these counts existed, and they're not for you, obviously, one thing is I've never seen somebody actually access an account like this. The other thing is if these things are so secret and they're so useful and, you know, I mean, I agree, the bank just makes up money. But why would it be all over YouTube? Why would they allow people to share all of this information on how you can get millions of dollars and pay all of your bills just with your social security number and your birth certificate? Just sign over your birth certificate. You know, the TDA secret account is real and it's not illegal to access it. And this guy probably has it right here. Treasury account and social security card, TDA, federal instruments, not for US citizens. It's not for you. It is not for you. But this is probably the most popular thing in the counterculture movement. And it's no wonder why people who do not understand and study real law go to prison over it. Here is one case that the counterculture knows pretty well. It's where Heather Ann Tucci, or however you pronounce her name, went with another gentleman to buy a $500,000 motorhome. And she was obviously convicted. They're making this video about how sovereign citizens don't believe that they should pay taxes or have driver's licenses. This is basically to make the average people think that the counterculture is insane, because the average people do think that the counterculture is insane. I mean, it is absolutely insane to believe that you can just take your social security card, not even your social security card, the government's social security card, and go down and buy a $500,000 motorhome for yourself when everybody else has to work hard and diligently to earn money to live life. This is just another entitlement issue. I mean, people feel entitled just because they're born in America, that America has to take care of them. We gotta take care of ourselves, and we gotta take care of each other. And I'm not going to argue that this is the birth that they talk about with the birth certificate. It is the birth from the ship. Every good or service that comes into this country gets birthed from a ship on a dock. And this is the start of where they get actual jurisdiction over the living individual, and the parents sign it over. And they set up this fiction so that the fiction can earn assets. And as you see right here, the assets are the goods of a deceased person, the goods and the property of a deceased person. And whenever you fill out a tax form, what do they ask you for? They ask you to list all of your assets. They tell you everything that they're doing to you in this game that they like to play. And historically, when people have been a part of it, they get upset and they fight back. When people become educated and understand what's really going on, like I said earlier, they tend to chop off the king's head. A good example of this is King John. He signed Magna Carta in 1215. He went back on his word, and he didn't have his head chopped off, but he died from dysentery because he had a siege on his castle that was so severe. Everybody inside of that castle was too afraid to go and throw the feces, the crap over the wall, and so King John died from dysentery. Just think about this, you guys. It's about education. It's about knowing yourself and who you are, knowing the other side and who they are and what they're doing, and try not to be deceived by the people who wish to deceive you. And if something doesn't make sense, don't follow it. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense that the government, who people don't trust, I mean, most people do not trust the government. It makes no sense that they would make an account for you and pay for you and provide you with millions of dollars in some hidden account if you just figure out that one little key to access it. Oh, let's figure it out. Anyways, I am Just Conspiracy, and I just wish to conspire with other good people on this planet to bring a better world for future generations than the world we all grew up in. Thank you.